Right, yes, 2007. 2007 was a bit of a underwhelming year, I must admit. Those previous albums and bands which had success the years before didn't seem to do anything that particular year, apart from a few that did, of course. But like the great bands like The Killers, Keane, and there's others, Darkness, just didn't arrive in that year. Oasis, there's others, there's loads of others. Maroon 5, but yeah, there was nothing from them, and what there was a bit underwhelming. So there's nothing really really stand out on that year particularly. I guess it's a lot of it is probably to do with like the likes of X Factor and those kind of manufactured programs, manufactured music, which was pretty rife round about then. And I think that kind of changed the scene a bit, and bands didn't quite get the same limelight which they were like the previous years of the 2000s. Just kind of faded away really after 2007. But that doesn't mean to say that there was no good albums. There was, but the quality just wasn't quite there as it was, I think, the years before, in my opinion. But we're going to start off with a few honourable mentions. There's quite a few recognisable bands in the honourable mentions which you would have thought made the top 10. But like I said, they were underwhelming. They may have had like the one great hit, but other than that, then the album was kind of just sort of okay. It wasn't bad, but anyway, a few sort of new ones here. Miss of the Near Future, the Klaxons, is a pretty good album. Yeah, I would say this is probably their album to get of theirs, the Klaxons. It's quite good, I must admit. Did quite enjoy this album. Jamie T, Panic Prevention, was a pretty solid debut entry. It got received pretty well, but it's just not for me. I just don't like it. I don't know what it is. It's just too indie. It's too indie. I do like indie music. Get me wrong, but when it sounds just like a racket, then no, sorry. So yeah, not in the top 10. A pretty good album, LCD Sound System, Sound of Silver. It's kind of like that kind of electronica kind of sound. I guess, anyway. But yeah, I'm not sure if it's classed as indie. I'm not really sure where this would be categorised, but yeah, not a bad album. Velvet Revolver, Limited, they released an album, and that's pretty good. It's pretty good. Not bad at all. Kaiser Chiefs, Yours Truly, Angry Mob, probably one of the standout albums of the year, but it's just okay. Apart from the hit Ruby, which was, don't get me wrong, it was a great hit. Really enjoyed it. Got a lot of airplay. The album's, it's all right, but it doesn't live up to the expectation of their previous album, Unemployment, which was really, really good. The hits of that were really, really good. And there was plenty of them. This doesn't have it. It just has the one hit. So yeah, underwhelming, really. I was listening to a lot of the radio back in that year, and weren't really buying many albums. I was pretty content in what I had the previous years, still listening to bands of that era of before, which was enough. But this is one of those albums which stand out, and the song was very, very good, must admit. But the album, so okay, really. Another album of a similar ilk, one of them great songs, but another sort of okay album. Scouting for Girls. Popular amongst girls, but us guys, it's okay. The song is so repetitive, isn't it? Very repetitive. So yeah, I mean that's all it's worth getting really. It's because of the songs, and it's the same with the Kaiser Chief, but not as much. Yeah, this was a popular album, and you would have probably thought it would probably be in the top 10, but not for me, I'm afraid. Linkin Park, they had an album out 2007, and it's Minutes to Midnight. It's alright, it's okay. Not as powerful as like Hybrid Theory. They kind of like sort of weren't as good after that album. Sort of, just became kind of averagey. But I think this had some success, but never really sort of took to it that much, So, but yeah, worthy effort. Bees, Octopus. I like the Bees. This album's alright. It's didn't really go anywhere. I don't think it had any particular big hits off this album, but I do like the Bees. So, but yeah, so another honorary mention. So my top 10, and this took me quite a while to do, and that's why it took so long to make this video. So yeah, top 10. I had to get a few albums to make like this list up, so I had to sort of check them out and listen to them, because like during the year 2007 I didn't actually acquire that many albums from that year. So a lot of these albums are literally from me picking them up years later. Not all, but a good majority. And quite a few of these albums I've not sort of heard until quite recently. So some of these bands I've never even knew about, and one of them made the top 10. The National, Boxer, not a bad album at all. Makes my top 10. So yeah, top 10, the Boxer. Well, the National, the Boxer, I should say. Number 9, Super Furry Animals, Hey Venus. This makes my number 9th place. With a pretty good album, I must admit. So yeah, if you see this one, pick this one up. 8th spot, Stereophonics, Pull the Pin. Quite a bit of a rock album of theirs. Doesn't have that kind of acoustic sounds which they had in their kind of 90s albums, like some of their deep cuts. This is pretty rock all the way through. Yeah, they just sort of really kind of cranked it up, I suppose, sort of in the early 2000s and onwards. So yeah, it makes my 8th spot. 7th spot, The Hives. Good album, good solid album, but there's no kind of standout track on here which I can sort of say, oh yeah, I love that hit, which are hits like they have on their previous albums. They have at least a few hits on the albums. There isn't one, but yet a good album, and that makes my 10, 9, 8, 7th spot. In the 6th spot, The White Stripes, Itchy Thump. One of their better albums. I would say this would probably be like their maybe top 3 of their discography. Very, very good, must admit. Do like this album. Very much do like this album. So yeah, 6th spot. 5th, In Rainbows, Radiohead. Radiohead were just so successful. Like everything they put out just had great success. And although this isn't as good as some of the other albums they put out, it's still a very, very worthy number to pick up. And it goes for like 10 quid on eBay. So like if you find this for like a quid in the charity shop, pick it up. You know, even if it's to like sell it on eBay, it has a bit of worth. So yeah. Anyway, not a bad album of theirs. The Eagles, Long Road Out of Eden. This is pretty much a epic 2-disc album from the Eagles. Took 6 years to put it together, and has a number of hits on there. I think it had 5 hits off this album in the US. One of them went to #1. The album went to the #1 in the UK as well, and is a good album of theirs to pick up. There wasn't really a lot going on in this year, but this one was kind of like one what came out of nowhere. I mean, who would have thought the Eagles would release an album in 2007? And they did, and they had a lot of success with it, so credit to them. Number 3, Damon Albarn's The Good, the Bad and the Queen. So yeah, ex-Blur member, good album. I don't think really many people kind of picked this one up. It kind of went a bit under the radar, I think, but it's good. It's a good solid album. Features the singles. Features 2 singles on the album, but very good album, must admit. Good album to pick up. Top 2. These are solid albums. Really do enjoy these. Play them over and over again. And that's Arcade Fire. Neon Bible makes my second spot. Good album. Kind of has that kind of sound like Snow Patrol has, you know. Very good. Very, very good. I was very surprised to see how good of an album this actually is, and it's highly recommended. Sort of like all the likes of Google, when you look them up, Google gets a lot of praise on there. So good album to pick up. But my number 1 is a bit of an unexpected band, but the album is great. It's really, really good, and that is Crowded House, Time on Earth. Really, really good album. It's a bit of a grief-stricken album. It does talk about sort of like a loss of a friend, but it's not kind of depressing. You know, it's quite kind of cheerful in places. Although the songs do sort of relate to the loss. Certainly, the first half of the album is actually quite cheerful, but then it goes into like it's a little bit long. It's sort of a little bit after, sort of in the second half of the album, a bit more talking about grief and loss. And but yeah, good album. I was really surprised how good of an album this is. Although it doesn't really get into many chart top 10s, I noticed on the internet. I picked it up and I thought it was really, really, really good. Very underrated. So yeah, Crowded House, Time on Earth. Pick it up if you find it. Highly recommend it. And that is it. That is my top 10. I'm surprised I actually managed to get like 18 albums there. It took me a bit of time to accumulate them and to work out the top 10. But yeah, there you go. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll be doing a 2008 shortly. And, so yeah, if you're interested, check that video out when it comes out. Until then, everyone, bye for now.